Welcome to Minding My Money. I'm your host, Shawnee, and this is where the journey to financial freedom is real, raw, and a little bit fun. I'm sharing my wins, my lessons, and everything in between, $1 at a time. Now, before we jump in, let me say this. This ain't financial advice, just financial realness. Today's episode is inspired by Price Tags, the song by Jazmine, Sullivan, and Paak. Because let's be real, we all had moments where spending wasn't about the item, it was about the feeling. This one hits close to home for me because there was a time when I was practically living out the lyrics to that song. I'd be in stores saying, "Give me this, give me that, gimme, gimme, gimme." I bought things I didn't need just to feel worthy, to feel seen, to feel caught up, to feel validated. I was trying to fill a void, one that came from not always having things growing up. We weren't poor, and I've said it before, but I didn't have the coolest outfits or the coolest shoes, so I faked it just enough not to draw attention to what I felt I lacked. But here's what I've learned. Sometimes the most expensive thing you ever pay for is validation. There was a season in my life when swiping my card felt like self-care. I wasn't just buying stuff, I was buying the life I thought I deserved, not the one I could actually afford though. And sure, the money was in the account sometimes, but that didn't mean it was really there. Sometimes I swiped so much that the bank hadn't even caught up to my purchases. Next thing I knew, I'd be in a negative. Let me give you an example of what I mean. There was a time I subscribed to two popular shoe sites, JustFab and Shoe Dazzle. Now listen, I didn't have a lot of shoes growing up, so I was determined to change that, and subscribing to these two websites were going to help me to get shoes at a quote-unquote affordable price. So this was a trap for me, right? So here's how it worked. And I don't remember the exact prices, but I believe you have to pay a monthly subscription fee, somewhere like $40 or $50 a month. I don't really recall. But that was just the access to shoe deals. So the thing is, if you wanted to buy shoes and not at the original price, you had to be subscribed to these websites. And guess what I did? I subscribed, and month after month, I purchased shoes and purchased more shoes, and guess what? They piled up in my closet, and I kid you not, I probably wore less than 5% of them, and most of them never saw the light of the day. They stayed in the box. But truthfully, for me, if I search really, really deep inside, it wasn't about the shoes. It was about projecting an image. The image of, I'm not struggling, I've got things together, I belong. But meanwhile, my bank was saying something very different. There are the price tags you see and the ones you don't. You might spend, let's say, $8, $9 on a dress or maybe some shoes, but also you're paying credit card interest and fees, and you're paying bank overdraft fees if you're not careful, especially on your credit cards if you're only making the minimum payments. And the real cost is time, regret, and emotional weight. I've been there, bags full of stuff and bank accounts full of regret. When your spending is trying to heal something deeper, it never works. In the moment, it feels like relief, but later, it feels like shame. You see, emotional spending doesn't just cost money, it costs you your peace, your stability, and your goals. I had to unlearn so much. I had to stop shopping to feel powerful and start budgeting to feel free. These days, I pause before I purchase anything, especially online. I'll load up my online card and let it sit there for days. Then I'll go back, and half of the time I ask myself, why did I even add this to this card? And I'll just go back and I'll just erase everything. Because that pause, what it does is it helps me to avoid impulse buys. Because I've realized when I shop while emotional, tired, or trying to reward myself for surviving the day, it never ends well. Now, I have a personal rule: no shopping when I'm emotionally charged. And no, I'm not saying you can't honor your hard work, but don't sabotage your future in the process. I know sometimes people refer to retail therapy as we're treating ourselves, but really, it's escaping ourselves. The click, the packages, the unboxing, it gives you a hit of control when life feels out of control. But here's what I've learned: self care isn't supposed to leave you in debt. Peace isn't something you can 2 days ship. Now, when I feel that urge to buy something to feel better, like I said, I pause and ask, what am I really craving right now? The thing or the feeling? Because usually I'm not craving the shoes. I'm craving rest, validation, and or peace. There was a time I needed new clothes before I walked into certain rooms. Like confidence had to be worn. But I realized the moment you start attaching your worth to what's on you instead of what's in you, you'll always be broke. Now I walk in with what money can't buy: growth, wisdom, and purpose. That's the real designer. If you're trying to break the emotional spending cycle, here's what has helped me. Track your triggers, meaning notice when you spend most. Is it boredom, stress, sadness, or comparison? Also, create a pause fund, as in every time you want to buy something impulsively, transfer that same amount to your savings instead. Lastly, unfollow the temptation. So let's say if certain influencers or brands always make you want to spend, mute them. Protect your peace. Healing your habits takes practice, not perfection. Every payday or every other month, do a worth check. Ask yourself, does my spending reflect who I'm becoming? Is my money going towards peace or pressure? That's what I call minding my money, not just budgeting, but aligning. Let me ask you this. Think back to a purchase you made that wasn't really about the item. What were you trying to feel in that moment? And now that you've grown, what would you tell that version of yourself? Here's what I tell mine. You don't have to prove anything. If you want a visual of your progress, check your bank account, not a shopping bag. A flex for me is seeing that money in my checking account, having a solid retirement plan, and knowing my savings are growing in a high yield account. I'm not saying don't spend, I'm saying spend with intention, because you are worth more than what you buy. And clarity is worth more than chaos. Freedom is worth more than a flex. And listen, I just recently made a few investments in myself for this podcast and for my YouTube channel. I had to remind myself, this isn't a splurge, it's an investment. Let's keep working towards a version of ourselves that doesn't chase worth, we carry it. Budget besties, if you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you stay tuned because I've got plenty more mistakes, lessons, and wins to share. Next week kicks off a 2-part series called Money, where I take a deep dive into my past obsession with money and how that obsession slowly turned into discipline. Trust me, you don't want to miss this one. Thanks for tuning into Minding My Money, where every dollar has a story and every story brings us closer to financial freedom. If you felt inspired, learned something new, or just vibe with the journey, don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, and share it with someone who needs it. You can also catch more content and behind-the-scenes moments on YouTube and Instagram. Just search Minding My Money. Until next time, keep minding your money $1 at a time.